Hello, YouTubers. While I'm not here to criticize anyone's denomination, I also want to point out what kind of teaching the early Christians would have viewed as heretical. After all, there was a volume of 5 books that delineated every view that the early Christians viewed as heretical. We would be wise to consider why. Today's video is about Montanism and compares it to some charismatic movements in America. Montanism is an early Christian heresy that was condemned primarily because they believed that the Holy Spirit gave them new prophetic revelations. Another reason that the early Christians viewed Montanism as heretical is because of how the Montanists viewed the role between men and women, although I'll focus more on that in a future video. There's a lot of debate and conjecture on that, and I want to do some more research first. This video focuses on the role of the Holy Spirit in the church, not the roles of men and women in the church. The early church had a bit different understanding of the Holy Spirit than modern Christians do. It's that difference that likely led them to the conclusion that Montanism was a form of blasphemy against the Holy Spirit and therefore heretical. So how did the early Christians understand the Holy Spirit compared to most Christians of today? Well, the early Christians separated the work of the Holy Spirit as comforter from the prophecies of the Holy Spirit. In fact, there was a special name for the Holy Spirit as comforter called the Paraclete, which is often translated as Holy Spirit from the Greek text. But again, the Paraclete is talking about the Holy Spirit as comforter, not as giving prophecy. Why this distinction? Because the early Christians understood the prophecies of the Holy Spirit as being completed. That is, the Holy Spirit doesn't give any more prophecy than it already has. On the other hand, the work of the Holy Spirit as counselor / comforter is ongoing. So, if anyone claimed that the Holy Spirit gave them new prophecy, that would have been viewed as heretical. If you listen to some preachers and evangelists of today, they will say things like, "The Holy Spirit came to me last night and revealed that the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl is a sign of the end times." It is these kinds of silly things that we might laugh at because they are so ridiculous, that the early church would have found as downright heretical. And against heresies, Irenaeus comes down on the Montanists hard. He accuses them of the unforgivable sin, blasphemy against the Holy Spirit. He said, "Others again, the Montanists, that they may set it not the gift of the Spirit, which in the latter times has been, by the good pleasure of the Father, poured out upon the human race, do not admit that aspect of the evangelical dispensation presented by John's Gospel, in which the Lord promised that he would send the Paraclete, but they set aside at once both the Gospel and the prophetic Spirit. Wretched men indeed, who wish to be pseudo-prophets, forsooth, but who set aside the gift of prophecy from the church, acting like those the Incretata, who, on account of such as come in hypocrisy, hold themselves aloof from the communion of brethren. We must conclude, moreover, that these men, the Montanists, cannot admit the Apostle Paul either, for in his epistle to the Corinthians, he speaks expressively of prophetical gifts and recognizes men and women prophesying in the church. Sinning, therefore, in all these particulars against the Spirit of God, they fall into irremissible sin." When Irenaeus says that they do not admit that aspect of the evangelical dispensation presented in John's Gospel, he is meaning that they are rejecting the Holy Spirit as comforter by their view that the Holy Spirit gave them a new prophecy. In so doing, they set aside both the prophetic work of the Spirit and the Gospel. Well, that's all the time I have for today. If you found this video helpful, please show your support by subscribing. Thanks for your time.